Everything's coming up to Timberwolves. Yeah, in the zone. Simple dedication to the team when you're in the know. To Timberwolves. Yeah, in the soul. Lifting all the positivity for the Wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. Soundcap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? How dare you? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast a one-stop shop for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Falling from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop him. It's the Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome in to another episode of the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined as always by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're doing great. You know that already. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, but it's how I start every show. So
yeah. No, we're doing really good. It was a really fun game to watch.
It was.
It was everything. It was everything you kind of want in a game. Like we can get into a little bit later, but no, I'm in a real good mood.
Yeah, and I think a good mood is like there's no reason to be in any other mood if you're a Wolves fan for today.
That's right.
Like even and I'm going to address the elephant in the room. If you're wondering why my voice is the way it is, first of all, I've had a cold the past couple of days. Mix that with the amount of screaming that I did last night. Just so it's a bad combination.
And why were you screaming? Why were you screaming again?
Because the Wolves were beating
and you were
LA.
At the game.
Because I was at the game, absolutely.
Yeah.
And man, I'll just start off with it. First of all, I suppose this was on every seat. So
there you go.
I had
swag.
What do you call the thumper things, like for the free throw things? What are they called?
Thunder sticks or something?
Yeah, thunder sticks, right? They had them too. I guess I didn't come home with them, but anyway.
It sounded loud. It sounded loud. I mean, from everybody's. Even the broadcasters were mentioning how loud it was. I mean, you heard the chants. You heard them, their approval of the referees' chants. Their thoughts on the city of Los Angeles chants. You heard it loud and clear. I mean, it was clear as day what was being said.
Right.
Enunciation is huge in the Midwest, and that came through very well. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, like just being there, it was unlike anything. It was unlike anything I'd ever been to in that kind of capacity. Like, man, it was just so much fun. And not only that, the game as well. Like, It was one thing to be at the spectacle. That game was a game for the ages. Like, that had so many roller coaster turns on it.
For sure. I was about to say so many ups and downs.
For good and bad. Like, we can talk about the officiating in a little bit. I mean, the fans were – and obviously it's hard because, when you're there, all you hear is ref, you suck and stuff. And it's hard to – like it's easy to think, oh, we're just getting screwed by the refs, but I don't know. I felt like upon second looking at the game, I felt like it kind of went both ways with the officiating a little bit.
They had 10 more free throws. We had a lot more points in the paint, which makes it seem like we were taking it to the more. We should be demanding more calls.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've been saying about calls the whole year, we're a young team that hasn't done anything. So refs aren't going to give us the benefit of the whistle. It's just not going to happen yet. You have to earn that benefit of the whistle, like it or not. But, it's not like we don't make it to the free throw line. I think we're a top 10 team in the league in free throw shot.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about Cat in a little bit. Obviously, that's I guess if there's one negative from the game, it was the way they were able to contain Cat. It was definitely a great game plan by Tyronn Lue. I almost feel like now you can agree or disagree with this, Chris, and I think we were talking about this on the chat. I think the Wolves, the best thing to happen to the Wolves was for Karl Anthony Towns to fall out of that game.
So I messaged you. I think that was me and you, and Jared. I messaged that early in the game when he picked up maybe his third, and I was like, "This is the best thing for us. Like it'd be better." Or maybe it was right when he came back in. I'm like, it'd be better if he picks up another foul because he was messing up our rhythm. Like
Yeah.
he was like, I love Karl Anthony Towns, but he gets too excited by the big lights, no matter what the scene is, and
Mhm.
he tries to overdo it. And Karl Anthony Towns is an elite finisher.
Yeah.
Like if someone does the play and then gets it to him, he'll finish. He's
Mhm.
not really he's not a play creator. He's not a shot creator. I mean, he'll straight line drive. Pretty much he's a straight line drive guy or a pick and pop guy. And he's
Right.
elite at that. But if we're trying to like feed him in the post and stuff, like that's not his game. And the sooner he figures that out, the better the Timberwolves are going to be.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And credit to Tyronn Lue. He definitely had a plan coming in with the Clippers. Like
Yeah.
they had Batum on him a lot, and just immediately, even if he wasn't even near the post, the double team would come. And
Yeah.
Cat struggled. I mean, credit to Tyronn
Well,
Lue.
he's a terrible passer.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't pass well out of double teams, and we've seen this before. Like we talked about it in the podcast, the pre-playoff game or the last podcast. I
Mhm.
said what they're going to do is they're going to play a small on them and they're going to double with a big. That's what they did and completely stuffed us and showed us that that's the blueprint for beating Cat. Showed the league for like a month until Cat figured it out. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, we knew it was coming, and what I was more disappointed with was that we like forced like if they say this is our defense that we figured out to stop Cat, I don't know why we kept or at least Cat kept forcing it into that. Like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Their whole plan is to stop you. You're not going to beat their plan. You're not that guy. So, like, if they're
Mhm.
taking two of their defenders and probably two of their strongest defenders and sticking them on you, doubling you on the catch at any point in the court, do not attack that.
Yeah.
Like,
Rotate it. Yeah.
you're not, come, like, what are you doing? So, like, that
Mhm.
was what pissed me off. But I mean, we got out of it, which is beautiful. But, like, stop forcing
Yeah.
drives into 4 or 5 guys. Like, what are you doing? But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And like going straight at two small guys who have position. Like it doesn't make
Never.
any sense. I now there's a sense I understand it because Cat's just trying to assert himself, and that's what Cat does. And like Cat's trying at least. You can't fault him for trying at least,
Well,
but
I mean, I
they have him
can.
flustered.
I can because I think he's trying to prove that he's a superstar. I don't think he's trying to make the best NBA play.
Right.
Like if you're doubled like that, you take a dribble so the double engages and then swing. Like
Hmm.
that's what we needed. That's what all we needed to do. Like
Hmm.
I don't think we had a guy in the team above 5 assists. We
Right.
didn't move the ball that well.
No.
Um, so like we got out of it in an ugly game of ugly teeth
Yeah.
and scratching nail biting game,
Hmm.
and we're better for it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're coming into a playoff series right now with almost game 7 energy. Like we won a game 7. That's what it feels like. And we've got
Right.
that kind of energy going into a playoff series. Like that's huge. That's
Right.
way more important than if we got the 6th seed and we've been resting and we're coming in with, you know,
Mhm.
lost to Chicago or beat Chicago or lost to Chicago
Lots of
energy.
yeah,
Like
lots. Yep.
it's a whole different vibe. I think this was the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And man, it was just such a fun game, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So obviously Cat, not a great game, but let's talk about the people who had a great game. And that, of
Yeah.
course, ice in his veins, D'Angelo Russell, who kept us in that game. Like the Clippers could have easily run away with that game and build a big lead in the second half. Or not, sorry, second quarter. But D'Lo comes in, tons of shots, clutch shots, and then at the end, D'Lo just stepping up to the occasion. That's the D'Lo that when people look at this team and think, oh, this is like they can compete with Memphis. Like that's the D'Lo that people see. And also we also got to talk about Anthony Edwards as well.
Right.
I mean, let's
start with D'Lo. Yeah. Let's start with D'Lo. Like that's the guy, like when you look at the Timberwolves and you say, well, they've got the potential to be great. Right. It's behind a point guard like what D'Lo did last night. And, you know, he came in the beginning and he was forcing it. Our whole team was forcing. Luckily, Anthony Edwards held us down in the beginning. But D'Angelo Russell will lose you any game that he's trying too hard in. And he was trying too hard in the beginning. Yep. He had the traditional early benching, and then he comes back. He's the first starter back in. And when he came back in, I sent a friend of mine a message before he came back in. I said, don't worry, D'Lo's going to come back in calm. He's going to come back in and he's going to be in control. And that's what we need. We need somebody, because we don't have anyone on our team that can ball handle. That's like like he's got the perfect yin and yang. Like he can calm it down. He can run it up if we need to have some up tempo, but he can control the pace. And I think I said that in the last podcast. For us to win, we need D'Lo to control the pace of the game. And he did a beautiful job at that. When it fell into half court, he kind of weaved his way into that little mid-range shot. When we needed a big three, he had that step-up three. I mean, he was everything. That's what we need a leader to be. And that's him. And he is the on-court, calming type leader, like keep everybody together kind of guy.
Right. And not only that, I feel like he, even after the game, like everyone's going nuts, and we'll talk about the end of the game celebration after that. But D'Lo's the one who's like, hey, we're supposed to win. Like we're supposed to win this game. We're supposed to take care of our home court. And it was almost, and like I said, I'm not knocking like Patrick Beverley for going nuts. I'm not knocking Anthony Edwards for going nuts, but I think you also need the guy who's like, yeah, of course we're going to win. Like, yeah, like this is our situation. So going through, let's just look at Delos stats. 29 points, 6 assists, 3 steals, plus 12. And that's
I think he was in the first half. I think it was the first quarter. Maybe it might have been the first half. He had, I think it was like 5 assists and 2 points or something like that. And then in the second half, I think he had 26 points and 1 assist. And it was just like, okay, it's time.
Right. And that's why I'm so encouraged by this Wolves team, because D'Angelo Russell has the ability to take over games. Like we saw, remember earlier this year against Philly when he did it, like basically won that game single-handedly. Like he has the ability. It's just whether or not he does it. Also, taking a look at more stats from D'Lo. 10 for 18 from the floor, 3 for 5 from 3, 6 for 8 from the free throw line. The Wolves not great from the free throw line in this one.
Nerves.
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
Moment, young team, big moment. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many correctable things that we could do better that are easy, and it's like, man, that's awesome that those are easy to fix, and we still came out with a win.
Right.
Speaking of D'Lo, if you listen to any of his post-game interviews after about a month into the season, you really get a taste of him calming down and being that Phil Jackson type guy, being that, everybody's on the same page, cheering on your teammates. Like he settled into his role on this team in a beautiful way. Mm-hmm. And he's got so much value outside of the court. I'm just glad that he's on our squad. To think about all the Andrew Wiggins, D'Lo people. Do you think Andrew Wiggins would have done that last night? Come on.
Andrew Wiggins probably. I'll say this: if we have Andrew Wiggins, we lose that game. Like, 100%. Now maybe you can argue, we would have played defense on Paul George, but I don't think so. I still think
not over J-Mac, dude.
Yeah,
McDaniels locked him up. Like there was he got points, but like Paul George did not want to see McDaniels or Edwards on defense again. I mean, those rip throughs and stuff he was trying to get on those guys, those are frustration fouls or frustration plays by those guys, by those superstars, because they are not getting what they want. I mean, I don't know how many times he had a 15, 20 dribble pass because he couldn't get his shot. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, great job by Jade Mcdaniels. Looking at Paul George's stat line, 34 points, 10 for 24, which, I mean, we'll take it. I mean,
well, he was at one point, I think he was
he was on fire. Yeah.
Well, he was like 4 for 14 at one point.
Right.
And then he went, maybe, 8 of 10 or something like that. So, I mean, that was a lot of that was versus Vanderbilt. No shame to him. It's just he was hitting shots.
Yeah, and people forget. I mean, think about how good. I mean, people forget because Paul George he's been hurt and stuff like that. Paul George is a top.
He's an MVP candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, remember his days in Indiana? He was unstoppable. Like,
he's easily an MVP candidate every single year. If he's healthy and if he's on a team where there's not another MVP candidate, he's an MVP candidate. He's that type of guy.
And then elsewhere for the Clippers, Reggie Jackson had a pretty good game, 17 points, 7 of 18 shooting.
Morris hit some shots.
Yeah, Morris hit some shots, which actually, let's get right into it. I just a quick detour, just so I don't forget this.
Yeah.
Did they on air when you were watching the game? Because obviously I was on the other side of the court for this. Did you know what was going on with the person who came on the court? Like, did they explain what happened? Or not?
Yeah, fairly quick. They got fairly quick. At first, they thought that it was like somebody that fell, like somebody, like maybe like
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, maybe it was a protest or something. And then they're like, well, should we find out what the protest was for? And they're like, maybe we shouldn't even air that news. Right. And then they said that like this person tried to glue themselves, which is embarrassing. Like, here's the deal. You live in the state of 3M, literally one of the biggest companies in the nation, based on, chemical, adhesives and stuff like that. Like, that's what they make their money on. And you're telling me you can't find some 2-part like liquid bond that would have actually worked? Like, what, you use some Elmer's glue or something like that? Like, it didn't even work. Like, protesters got to get their stuff together, because that's a weak job. Like, know what you're doing. If you're going to do something like that, I want your skin to be stuck. You know what I mean? Like,
actually make a mark. Like, I barely saw it. Like, what I saw was what I thought was going on. I thought there was like a dispute between like Finch and Lou were going at it. Because I just saw the Clippers bench like signaling or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other bench was starting to go at, and then I saw the person. I'm like, what is going on? Like,
yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. And only because like I'm all for protest whenever you want. Good for you. Like, if it's that big of a deal for you, go for it. I mean, whatever consequences you get afterwards, that's part of the deal. You have to take those. But do a better job. Like, stick yourself. Like, she should have been stuck there. Like, how crazy would that have been if they're like, we're either gonna have to play around this lady or call the game, or like cut her hand off. Like, that's what she should have done.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. It seemed pretty elementary, like a very elementary attempt.
But she paid probably $250 to do that. $300. I mean, she had to have lower level tickets.
That's true. Yeah.
So whatever.
Man, that was weird. But I will say, right after, I think the Wolves were down 7 or something when that happened. They played a lot better after that.
They went on a little run, and I remember something good happened, or maybe we took a timeout and we kind of got it like we kind of were catching our breath, and then that happened, so we got a little extra break, and it was it definitely didn't hurt the mojo.
Yeah, but man, just the flow of that game, they were so. Just being not a pessimistic Wolves fan, but a realistic Wolves fan, there were so many times I'm like, well, that's it. We're done. Yeah. Like, we're down 10 in the fourth quarter to Paul George. Like, we don't win. I can name on like one hand Wolves teams that could come back from that kind of deficit, and
How
most
about
of them were
without an
from the early
all-star?
2000s. Yeah,
Without an all-star too.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, without Karl Anthony Towns,
Yeah.
man, credit,
It was,
and maybe we should start talking about it now. But Anthony Edwards, what a coming out party! Not necessarily for us Wolves fans because we see it every night. Like, and I'm
yeah,
sure,
but
and
I
I'm
mean, you
sure,
see it
yeah,
on regular season games.
right.
This is different.
Right. Yeah. This is national TV. This is, I mean, it's basically the play. Like, they don't want to call it the playoffs, but
It's a
it felt like
playoffs.
it was the playoffs for all intents and purposes. Talk a little bit about A1 and just his brilliance last night.
I mean, the thing about him that I love so much is and I've been saying this since his rookie year when people were saying, "Oh, he's taking too many threes." Oh, and I'm like, well, I mean, he's getting clean looks. Like
Right.
it's just a matter if they fall or not. It seems really elementary, but there's a lot of guys that can't get it's an NBA skill to get shots up. And he
Right.
can do it. He can get shots up whenever he wants. And his decision to be more of an attacker was everything we needed. I mean, if he can keep that sort of attack first energy through these playoffs,
Yep.
we've talked about it before. D'Angelo and Cat are kind of like the finesse, like the high skill level guys, and then Anthony Edwards is the hammer. And you
Mm-hmm.
need that yin and the yang. You need that, that difference to keep everything balanced. You can't just be playing finesse and dribble handoffs and all this stuff. You need a guy that's going to just downhill drive. And
Mm-hmm.
you need a guy who can explode, jump up over a guy and shoot a three. I mean, it was just raw basketball athleticism and power, and it was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to see. And it's beautiful that the national media gets to see it.
Right.
He deserves it.
He does. He does. And man, I just remember. So he got that one dunk where basically the Red Sea parted. But if he would have hit that other one,
The
where he
baseline one?
yeah, that baseline one, that place, I think like they say, blow the roof off. I
Oh,
literally think the place might have the roof might have blown off. Like,
I would love to see a
legitimately.
replay of that. They didn't replay that much on TV to see really what happened. I don't know if he lost it on the way up or what happened, but oh man, he was. I mean, it was like our logo. It looked
Right.
like it was going to be
Right.
just like the logo again, just a huge poster coming baseline.
Why? I got a feeling now. I know it's a long series, 7 games. I got a feeling that he's got one of those in store for this Memphis series. I got a feeling. I just on national TV, I feel like he's going to blow everyone away with some dunk. Now,
So
I hope he doesn't take like 8 attempts to do it and like miss all of them. But I feel like a big dunk is in the future.
he got off the court, and the first thing he was screaming was, "The lights come on, I show up."
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the swagger of a national televised big game kind of guy, which is a beautiful
Yeah.
difference between what Cat has, to be completely honest. He hasn't established himself as a big game, all eyes on me type player yet.
Mhm.
But Anthony Edwards is doing that. And he sat down in the locker room. He went live on Instagram. And one of the things he said, they said, well, Finch came in and he's asking when we play next. And he knew exactly when we play, Anthony Edwards did. And he screamed out, and it's on ESPN. Like, he is very motivated of the fact that it's on ESPN. And I think the first game is going to be a real litmus test to see if he's ready to be that guy or if he's going to put up 27 shots and miss them all. But he's not going to have a lot of bullets left in the chamber, I don't think. He's going to shoot everything he's got.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah, man. And I know we'll probably get Jared on later in the week and we'll talk about the series, but this is going to be a fun series. This is the series I wanted all year. Now, the Suns, if it was the Suns, I wouldn't feel as good about it, but this series could go either way. I feel like it really could. Now, would I give the advantage to Memphis? Obviously, yes, because they got home court advantage and they're the 2 seed, and they've had a great year even without Ja. But I think Memphis should fear us a little bit. I really
Coming
do.
off that win, especially.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, like I said, there's some real game 7 winning type mojo we have right now.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I noticed from the game that I think was absolutely huge were finishing quarters well, particularly the end of the first and the end of the third quarter, because
Yep.
both times we were down 9 and we
Yep.
came up. First one, I think Jalen Noel hit a corner 3, and then
Nope,
Malik.
it was McDaniels.
Oh, McDaniels. Oh, okay.
Stepped into a slot 3, and then it was Beasley with that corner.
Yeah, Beasley with the that was huge.
Huge.
Going into the fourth quarter down 6 instead of 9, that's huge. Particularly after they took away that Patrick Beverly
one.
like that was huge. That was like that.
Yeah.
We just hit shots like there were times where it's obviously they called a shot makers league, right? But
Yeah.
we just when it was clutch, it was just unlike normal Timberwolves basketball from the past. It just good things happened to us, and we clamped down and got it done.
One of the things that was the most impressive to me about the game was the play of Jade McDaniels. As a young kid, that's kind of in and out of the starting lineup, kind of whatever type guy. He stepped up. He locked up defensively. He hit big shots. He hit that huge 3 like you were talking about. He also had like a pull-up jumper like in the lane early on that was good. He didn't show that it was too big for him. And like, man, his defense was phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, he picked up some fouls, but that's going to happen. That's fine. Speaking of fouls, man, did the TNT guys try to kill Chris Finch at halftime about fouls? Did you hear any of that?
No, I didn't know.
They were talking about how bad of a coach Chris Finch was and how if they win, it's going to be because they're going to win despite Chris Finch. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Jeez.
They're so bad. But they were mad because Cat picked up his fourth foul or whatever it was, and Edwards picked up his third. And they're like, well, they shouldn't have had Edwards in there. They've got all these old takes. And Finch just came out and said, he's like, I'm not going to foul out my player. I'm not going to rest a guy for 5 minutes when he could easily be playing, thinking maybe he'll fall out. But then at the end of the game, he ends up with 4 fouls. And you're like, oh, wish I would have played him those other 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, how many times has Anthony Edwards fouled out this year? Maybe once.
Yeah.
Maybe. So you're worried. Like, you can't be worried about him picking up more. Like, God, those guys are tough to listen to. But
like I was listening to another podcast to say earlier today on my way to work, and they were basically saying that why not play your guys when you're in it, like maybe you're down 2 or 3, rather than when you're down 20 and then you got to throw in Cat and Anthony Edwards. Why not play them when the game's actually tight? Like, that makes total sense. And we should kind of transition into this. I know everyone's talking about it right now, but we got to give our take as well. The celebration after. I thought it was amazing. Obviously, me being there, like seeing everyone on the Megatron, A-Rod, Mark Laurie, Glenn Taylor, all in the group hug, and then I forget Glenn Taylor's wife or whatever. But Anthony Edwards on the podium or on the scores table, Pat Beverly freaking out like it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I loved it. And I think we absolutely deserve it, because that was the feeling inside of the arena. It felt like we had just won a championship. So I say celebrate accordingly. Also, I heard this other take, like when MLB teams, they clinch like play-in or playoff spots. Yeah, they got like the champagne and stuff. Anyway, they're high-fiving fans and doing all that stuff. So why can't we? I don't understand. What was your take on it?
Well, we can't because we're not supposed to be there. We're not supposed to be at the party. We're not invited guests. Minnesota's not an invited guest to the playoffs. That's why they don't want us celebrating. Here's the deal about celebration. As a human being, don't let anyone ever tell you like what type of emotion to have. Like, as long as it's genuine. That wasn't fake celebrating. That wasn't like rehearsed celebrating. That wasn't like putting it in your face, celebrating, other than Pat Bev, but that's Pat Bev. That was genuine emotion. And if
Right.
you have that and it's real, go for it. Let it spill out, man. I'll
Mhm.
cheer, man. If I cook a Jack's pizza perfectly, I'm going to cheer at the top of my lungs, maybe in my kitchen. Like, ain't nobody could tell me that that's not worthy of a good cheer. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, no, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. Cheer hard. You know, a 20-year-old kid steps up when an all-star steps down and leads the team to a win. D'Angelo Russell, who's had an up and down year, has been out the last couple games, and before that hasn't really been good, comes through and shows who he is on national television in a
Mhm.
contract year kind of thing. Like, yeah, those are some pretty emotional moments.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly gets a win versus his former team that told him that he's not worth what he wants. Those are important. I mean, that's a lot of energy right there.
Mhm.
That's huge. Let him be that way. A franchise that's never, like, we went to the playoffs with Jimmy Butler, but it wasn't our team. It felt
Yeah, it
rented.
wasn't the same, yeah.
It felt rented. It felt like it wasn't, it wasn't like this was going forward to be something in the future. It felt like it was already on last legs. And this is different. And is like I said, as long as it's real emotion, man, let it spill. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I absolutely agree. And I've heard this take too. Like, oh, you should act like the old man, like the 50-year-old dad take is like act like you've been there before. We
Yeah.
haven't been there before in like 18 years.
Yeah, we can't. We don't know how to act. You know what? Maybe we should, truthfully, let's act like this after every home win.
Sure.
Everyone. Game
Yeah,
3, boom! I want fireworks. You know what I mean? Like, go nuts. Who
absolutely.
cares?
By the way, on
Win a
the
game.
note of Patrick Beverly, I
Yeah.
just want to remind everyone that we traded Jared Culver and Juancho Hernan Gomez for Patrick Beverly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously Patrick Beverly isn't like a 20-point a game scorer, but what are Juancho and Jared Culver doing right
Well,
now?
I'll tell you what you're not going to see. Juancho or Jared Culver next series with the Grizzlies because they're not on their team.
Right, exactly.
They cut them both. Like, we
Right.
got Patrick Beverly just for two guys they just ate the cap for. Like, that was
Right.
an unbelievable deal.
Yeah, man. And just like I think what it reminded me of last night's victory, it reminded me of like as a kid, when like you win like a kid championship and everyone loses their minds. It felt like genuine joy. And not only from the players, from the fans as well. Like I was high-fiving like everyone that I could. And like coming out of the arena chanting "Let's go Wolves," "Bring on Memphis," like
it's
just
beautiful.
People were so happy. And I know we say it all the time, or they say it all the time on the broadcast, that Minnesota is a basketball state. Last night, it felt like a basketball state. Like, man, it was alive. And you and anyone else, I encourage, if you can, obviously don't spend $1 million on tickets or do something. But if you can get down to Target Center to experience this, you really should, because you can't take anything for granted. As we've seen as Wolves fans, you can't take any of this for granted. And man, was it fun. Like,
well, we're building a climate. We're building a whole climate around the Timberwolves with the fans. And it started with D'Lo calling them out, saying, "Hey, stand up at the beginning. Our fans really aren't doing much." Like, and some of the fans got pissed, but then what helped was a lot of the local media guys were on his side. Like, yeah, truthfully, the fans are kind of whack. Like at the games, they're not really supporting. They're not loud. And we went to be some of the loudest, if not the loudest fans in the league of late.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can hold that going on for years future, that's beautiful. I mean, that's how you build a climate. That's how you bring in free agents, when you show them that sort of love.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. If I'm a free agent looking in Minnesota, I want some of that. Like, give me some of that. And man, was that fun. Last thing before we wrap it up. This isn't really about the Wolves right now, but who you got tonight? I think it's Hawks. Let's see. It's
Hawks
Pelicans.
Hornets.
Yeah.
Hawks Hornets, man. Man, these playoffs, let's just, before we get into exactly for tonight,
sure,
these playoffs are going to be so exciting.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
Hawks Hornets for one is going to be fun, but then we come on and we've got what is it? Boston versus New
Brooklyn.
Jersey, dude. That's going to be unbelievable. Toronto, Sixers, Denver, Golden State. Like, not to mention us. Man, this is going to be some fun playoffs. But
Yeah.
Hawks Hornets. I would say the Hawks maybe, but the Hornets got a lot of Timberwolves vibes to them, They got a lot of scrappiness. They got a lot of heart. I would say probably Hawks, and I would say probably Pelicans. It's Pelicans Spurs too.
Who do you so if you got I agree. I got Hawks and then I got Pelicans as well. Look, just in case we don't do a one, who do you got? Pelicans Clippers. What do you think?
Pelicans.
Really? Okay.
Yep. So what bothered me last night is Karl Anthony Towns is pretty much out of the game, right? Consider him out of the game. How many shots do you think Zubac had last night?
Not that many.
2. How do you not he's not terrible.
No,
he's
he showed it when Cat was in foul trouble. He took him right and did that little hook shot like twice.
Do that.
Like he can shoot.
Why didn't he do that 15 times?
I don't know.
There was times when we had Vanderbilt and McDaniels in there, mind you, neither of them knew what that was the worst rebounding team I've ever seen because they didn't know who was supposed to be a 4 or not. Why don't you just attack that? They went small after Cat was out, and it's like, are you trying? I don't know. That was weird to me. I would have abused us down low, but more power to them.
Yeah, I'm fine. They didn't. I'm happy that they didn't.
Yeah, I like the Pelicans. I think that I think they can do it.
Yeah, no, I like him too. Brandon Ingram, like we've seen, is a killer. CJ McCollum. I feel like this is almost his opportunity to.
Valanciunas is such a handful.
Yeah,
that guy is that guy's a load to deal with. Yeah, he's tough to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good first round series. I'm not saying that the Pelicans would beat the Suns because the Suns, I mean, they're the best team in the league for a reason. But I think they could stretch them to like 6, maybe.
Yeah, they match up well. They match up well.
Yeah, and I think every series. I'm trying to think of an NBA playoff series that I don't think will be good.
I would have said the Mavericks Jazz because the Jazz have been playing so bad.
That's true. Yeah.
Now that Luka got hurt, that might be a good series. Who knows?
He's not ruled out for game 1, so he could.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that last night after I got home. Yeah,
that's good to hear just for the NBA.
Yes, it is. Yes. By the way, funniest thing of the night was so I was telling my friend who doesn't go to a lot of Wolves games, that's who I went with. Like I was telling them logistics of parking. I'll be like, yeah, so everyone will be parked in ramp B because the Twins game is before, like an hour or so before, and then they'll all be gone by the end. Nope, the Twins game wasn't over when the Wolves game ended, which is just crazy. I mean, there was a rain delay to be fair, but still, like if you're in the rain watching the Twins get beat 7-1 at midnight, like you're a diehard for the Twins.
You should get free season tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. I was so surprised to see lights on at Target Field when I was left. I was like, no way.
Ridiculous.
And the Wolves game was long too. Like that wasn't a short one.
No,
that was a grinded out long game. So
it was an ugly game. Yeah, but that's playoff basketball. So we got a good taste of hard fought, ugly officiated, emotionally high, nothing running smooth kind of playoff win in our back pocket going into this series. I mean, that is gold. I'm so excited for that.
I am so, yeah. How scale 1 to 10, how happy were you when that final buzzer sounded?
I was pretty happy. I was 8.5 probably. Yeah,
8.5. Okay. I was pretty close to a 10.
I would assume so. You were there.
Yeah. I was I was jumping all over the place. There was this weird kind of strange guy behind me that kept like hitting me in the back. Yeah. Oh, and then a quick story. And maybe if this guy's listening, I doubt it. But the guy directly behind me, nothing was good enough for him. It was him and his wife, and he would just complain about everything. Not only Wolves, he would complain about the Clippers too. Like he'd be like, "Oh man, that guy just fell down. He shouldn't have fallen down," and stuff like that. Or, that was bad defense. Just commentary the entire game about how bad everything was on both sides. Like, "Oh, we're screwed now. Oh, that we're dead. Oh man, that was a bad shot selection." Like every single thing. I'm like, can you just enjoy where we are right now?
People are the worst. People are the worst. I hate them so much, people. And that's why I have a hard time going to live events, because you're always surrounded by some people like that. And you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But
like,
whatever.
I will say his analysis wasn't bad. Like he wasn't wrong a lot of the time, but it's like, come on. And I'm sure his wife was just going like, yeah, yep.
Oh, she doesn't want to enjoy this.
I'm just trying
to
enjoy.
She has to deal with that guy. She had to deal with that guy for 30 years, dude.
Exactly. Actually, judging by the age, probably more than that.
Enough.
But anyway, I think we'll put a bow on that now. Chris, thanks so much for being here. It was really fun reliving last night. It was so much fun. We're going to try to put up a podcast later this week to kind of preview the Memphis. Don't you worry. We'll get into the Memphis series pretty quick here. We just wanted to recap this one and just live up in this one. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, I'm glad you got to experience that last night, man. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. This is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode, and to follow us on Spotify so you, again, never miss an episode. And as always, go Wolves and bring on Memphis.
That's right.